And then we're going to go off to our last game of the week that we're going to cover. Raiders are going over to Detroit and playing this Lions team that's coming off of a brutal loss, maybe one of the worst losses this franchise has had in a few years.
Yep.
Lions are 8-point favorites at home against this Raiders team. 46 is the over-under. I don't know if Jimmy G's back. I think he's expected to play this week, from what I remember hearing.
Last I saw, I thought he was questionable.
Questionable. I think it's questionable leaning to active, but who knows? Honestly, I don't think it makes much of a difference. I like the Lions in this one.
I don't either.
I like the Lions in this one. I do think there's something to be said, though. The Lions are dependent on a run game for Goff to be clicking at the rate that we've seen him do the past 2 years or so. So, whether that's figuring out the run game without David Montgomery or figuring out how to best use this rush attack with some injuries up front, injuries at the position players. Jameson Williams has been wildly underrated or underwhelming, and it's been disappointing. Honestly, I had big hopes for him, and it's been very disappointing.
It's a shock. It's a shock.
I think honestly, if I was going to be, give me a hot take here, two things I think the Lions should look at. Jameson Williams, this is the week for him. Give him some deep shots, dial him up for some plays. If he doesn't show you anything special, you know what you do? You go out and you grab DeAndre Hopkins. That's what you go out and do. Or Mike Evans.
I don't see the Mike Evans thing because I don't think they want to trade him in the NFC. That's the only reason.
Okay.
I think if the Pats find a way to win this week, I was texting you about this earlier in the week. If the Pats win this week, which, huge if, biggest if ever, I don't see it happening. If the Pats win this week, you have no excuse to not trade for Mike Evans. None at all.
He just looks like a Pat, too. Because he just looks good in a Pats jersey.
And if you're going to be in the middling stage of, we're mediocre, we're only going to win 8-9 games, well, then fuck. You better be the best of those 8 and 9 win games.
And at least take a chance. Honestly,
a chance. Like, if you're going to put yourself back in the dance, you better bring a hot date. So you gotta find a way to be more competitive, especially if you put yourself back in the playoff race, which, I mean, if they beat Miami, they're back in it.
That's a good point. Another thing I want to mention here, this Lions O-line is so good. I mean, David Montgomery should be back, whether it's, within the next few weeks. Jahmyr Gibbs has been underwhelming. Maybe it just takes him a while to get going. Like I'm saying, dude, if you can go ahead and get a 1-year rental with a 4th-round pick in Derrick Henry, I think you go out and do it. I mean, just imagine Derrick Henry lining up behind that O-line. I mean, he's looking at 100 a game minimum, it seems like. I mean, the sky's the limit with that pairing.
Yeah.
David Montgomery gets back. That's the perfect guy to mix in and be the Tajay Spears to Derrick Henry. And then, you want to use Gibbs still, of course. You could line him up at slot. I mean, it's not like he can't catch. He is Kamara-like in the ability that he can catch. He can go out there and he can line up and catch. So, maybe you try something like that. I mean, the Lions look so close, and they don't let injuries ruin being so close for the first time in years for this franchise of going to a playoff game and also and really having a future.
Don't let these injuries ruin your continuation of being good. Don't reach on something to try to supplement these guys that are out when you kind of don't have to in order to make the playoffs. I think, not even like we think of this, what are they, 5-2 now? You can get to 10-7, 11-6 if David Montgomery doesn't play another game. You should be able to do that.
Yeah,
you should be able to. So don't go out there and reach on something and give up valuable assets, which would then keep you from being able to maintain the success. That's new to you. To me, that would be something I brought up the other week. That would be a sign of them not being used to the success that they found. You need to know, first you need to know how to win, or first you need to know how not to lose, then you need to learn how to win, and then you have to learn how to find sustainableness in that winning, which is what Bill's done so well. Obviously, is the Pats coach, other than the last few years, but that's what him and Tom did so well.
It's a good point. It's a good point. This is a team that's very promising, and I think they should be buyers at the deadline because you haven't been historically a good franchise.
They
Obviously,
could use another receiver for sure.
Exactly. They could use another weapon on this offense, and while you're at it, try to get a rental at pass rush or on the defensive side. I mean, you're this close for
Imagine
the first
if the Pats
time in
are really
years.
bad, like really bad, or not even imagine they are really bad right now. They're 2-5.
What are you thinking, Uche?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you try to get Uche?
I think the Pats have to make a decision on what we want to do roster wise, and I think the Lions should also make a decision. Should we just send it, man? Should we do it? Because how many times are you going to get a team this solid with a lot of pieces healthy and a lot of momentum? So
I know he's not your typical Super Bowl quarterback, but your quarterback did go to a Super Bowl, regardless of what team he was on and who was coaching him.
Yep.
And the fact that Aaron Donald was his teammate, whatever excuse you want to come up with,
he did it.
The guy went to the Super Bowl. You can't take that away from him. He did go. So you have a guy who has a pretty impressive resume, was a first overall pick. I don't know why I'm really ranting because I think Goff has gotten the respect that he deserves, but I think that people are kind of leaving the Lions out of that Super Bowl conversation. And a little hint of the reason as to why, I would say a lot of it has to do with Dan Campbell. I think everyone loves Dan Campbell, but they don't really see him as a Super Bowl coach. And I don't think people look at Goff as a true Super Bowl quarterback, which I think it's time to let that go. Listen, he's not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He might need some stuff around him, but when he has that stuff around him, which he does right now, he's hovering around top 10 in the league. And that's all you need to get to the Super Bowl. It's good defense, good coaching, and a top 10 quarterback. That's all you need today.
Agreed. And a few more picks I want to rattle off before we get into our MVP check-in, and then the World Series, baby. I want to say, other than the picks I've already given out here, I like the Texans' money line against the Panthers. They're 3.5-point favorites. I like the Falcons' money line against the Titans. They are 3-point favorites, and I think that has to do with, Chris Long said this, and he made a great point. It's just like in, baseball. It's just like in any other sport. When you're looking to shop an asset, you don't want to play them the week before, or at least you don't want to play them that much, because if they get hurt, then their trade value goes out the window, and that hurts a lot of what you were planning on doing. So I think that's something here with Derrick Henry, or maybe even DeAndre Hopkins. It's potential that they can get moved, in the next few days, next few weeks, whatever it is. So I think it's something to watch. Maybe they're going to be on a snap count or just not even playing at all. So give me the Falcons money line there. I like the Browns +4. The Browns +4 going to Seattle. Seattle's very banged up. Kenneth Walker's questionable. Yeah. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I believe, are questionable. I don't think Lockett's going to play, actually. I mean, don't quote me on that, but beat up team. I think the Browns defense will get it done. And then give me the Chiefs -7 against this Broncos team. Another team that is going to be shopping, whether it's Judy, whether it's Sutton, whoever it is, or both of them. They're going to be shopping some dudes. And so maybe they're not going to be playing as much as they would in a normal week. So those are some of the picks that I wanted to throw in there.